My research proposal is on professional learning communities and their effectiveness on student learning. So I chose the article, Improving Teacher Effectiveness Through Structured Collaboration. This is a case study of a professional learning community written by Perry Graham, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. You can find the article on Research in Middle Level Education online from 2007, Volume 31, Number 1. I am very interested in the concept of professional learning communities and if they in fact improve on student achievement. In this article, it's reporting the results of a mixed method case study investigating the relationship between professional learning community activities and teacher improvement in the first year middle school to see if in fact the teachers do improve on their craft and their students gain in their achievement. Education has always been very important in the United States. But when the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001 was passed, it brought forth a lot of concerns and a lot of things for us to think about. It brought issues of teaching and learning to the forefront of our consciousness, promising new technologies, the injection of market competition via school vouchers, and high-stakes accountability testing. It is known throughout the nation that we need to improve on K-12 education, and it's important that we find the best pathway in order to do that. The federal government in 2006 authorized almost $3 billion for improving teacher quality because many researchers have found, of course, that classroom teachers have a significant impact on student learning and achievement. So we need to put all this together and find the best avenue for making improvements in public education. We do know that research supports the fact that regardless of what a teacher brings to the table, teacher input such as salary, education level, and certification requirements, that doesn't necessarily mean that test scores are going to be high or that their students are going to achieve more. It has been found that achievement is directly related to what goes on in the classroom, what the teachers are teaching, what they're learning from their fellow teachers, and the decisions that they are making in their instructional practices. So researchers and administrators know for a fact that teachers are their greatest asset. Given the insights that we've discussed, school-based leaders need to work to maximize student learning and achievement, identify the opportunities to encourage and support classroom-level teachers, make sure that they are improving, and make sure that's a priority in their school. In a review from the third International Math and Science Study done by Heller in 2002, he found that in mathematics and science, U.S. fourth graders reached a higher achievement level than their peers in almost every other developed nation. By the 8th grade, U.S. students had slipped to the middle of the list of nations and underperformed even students from several less developed nations. So that tells us we need to find out where we begin to slip, what we're doing wrong, and how we can best improve teacher practices inside the classroom. So recognizing the importance of teachers and what they mean to student success and for their school improvement plans as well, we need to look at what we can do to make sure that they are getting the training that they need and the support that they need. So therefore, this study is looking at the professional learning community as an organizational structure that will be able to help these teachers. If you'll remember or think back to the professional learning development that you've done throughout your school system, PLUs as we call them, you have workshops and conferences and little classes to take here and there that aren't necessarily teaching you how to work with your coworkers or to study student achievement. Alternate professional developments could be study groups or professional networks within your school or your system and mentoring relationships with teachers that are more experienced. So to gain success, you are looking in the direction of collaboration, dialogue, and a true reflection about the successes that you're having and what you can do to improve. So with all that being said, what exactly is a professional learning community? Well, Rick Dufour in 2004 gave the definition as a professional learning community being where school leaders should require teachers to establish individual and organizational commitment to a common mission and goals centered around ensuring student learning. They should collaborate regularly on curricular, instructional, and organizational decisions and collect and analyze this data and results to improve on what's going on in the classrooms, grade levels, and courses. So the goal of this study was to address Dufour's claim that PLC type activities lead to teacher improvement, and then they go further and find the relationship between same subject PLC activities in middle school, because in middle school all the teams have teachers that are teaching different subjects, so they wanted to put same subject teachers together and allow them to collaborate and see if it made for student improvement by doing a PLC type organization. So we're looking at the research specific questions of this study. First question, which features of professional learning community activities, if any, demonstrate a significant relationship with changes in teachers' content and pedagogical knowledge and with changes in teachers' instructional practices? Another question is, do the features of professional learning community activities along with the changes in teachers' content and pedagogical knowledge and skills and instructional practices vary based on specific teacher characteristics, including years of experience, grade level taught, and subject taught? And finally, in what ways do organizational and personnel factors, specifically intra-organizational social dynamics, the personality and leadership style of the principal, structured planning time, and use of block schedule, influence the teacher improvement efficacy of professional learning community activities? What was the methodology? Using a case study format, this study focused on a first-year middle school that had incorporated the professional learning community principles advocated by Dufour. The study site, Central Middle School, was located in a large southeastern school district and served a population of predominantly white, middle-class students. The study focused on the 2004-2005 academic year and relied on both quantitative and qualitative data to address the research questions. First, in an attempt to identify the relationship between professional learning community activities and teacher improvement, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade core academic teachers, these would be your language arts, math, science, and social studies teachers, at the test site were asked to complete a survey concerning the professional learning community activities in which they had participated. This data was then analyzed using descriptive statistics. As Howell had noted in 2002, that descriptive statistics are appropriate when the purpose is merely to describe a set of data. Because of the small size of Central Middle faculty, it was determined that the use of descriptive statistics would be most appropriate in addressing the research questions. Your survey results were used to first identify the features of professional learning community activities that demonstrated a significant relationship with changes in teachers' content and pedagogical knowledge and skills and instructional practices. Also, it was to identify any variation in the features of professional learning community activities along with changes in teachers' content and pedagogical knowledge and skills and instructional practices based on their years of experience, grade level taught, and subject taught. In 2004 and 2005, Central Middle School was a first-year school serving 6th through 8th grade students in a large semi-urban district in the southeast. During that school year, Central Middle had 662 students, 44 classroom teachers, 24 of whom were considered core academic teachers. At the 6th grade level, each teacher taught 2 subjects, either language arts and social studies or math and science. And teachers were paired into 2-person teams and shared common students, such as language arts social studies teacher would work together, and the math and science teacher would work together, and they typically shared about 50 students. At the 7th and 8th grade, teachers were put into 3 to 4-person teams sharing common students. All of the core academic teachers were organized into multiple professional learning community teams, which met on a regular basis. Another fact that I found interesting was that the principal for Central was hired in early 2005 and was given approximately 6 months to work full-time to manage the development of the school prior to its opening in August. The principal was also able to hire the entire faculty from scratch. Interview and document data revealed the principal was interested in developing a PLC along Dufour's model from the first day he was hired. His personnel decisions were influenced by his desire to hire educators interested in and committed to PLC principles, especially collaboration. I found this interesting because how cool would it be to open up a school and be able to hand-pick educators that had the same belief as you and were going to be committed to the goals and the process that you were looking to achieve. When it came time to look at the results from the teacher survey, of the 24 original academic teachers, 20 were still present. So of those 20, 15 completed and returned the survey, which gave a 75% response rate to the research program. The teacher survey provided results on the extent to which professional development features were evident in professional learning community activities and the overall relationship between professional development features and teacher outcomes. Data analysis focused on 4 identified professional development features: collective participation, content focus, active learning, and coherence. Of the 4 professional development features analyzed, 3, content focus, active learning, and coherence, exhibit a positive relationship to changes in teacher knowledge and skills and changes in teaching practices, as seen in this table here. This suggests that at the extent to which each of these professional development features was increasingly evident in professional learning community activities, teachers indicated increasing levels of change in their knowledge, skills, and practices. Table 2 summarizes the results for those professional development features that exhibited clear differences across grade levels: content focus, active learning, and coherence. For each professional development feature, 8th grade teacher scores trended lower than both 6th and 7th grade teacher scores. When compared to national data, Central Middle's average scores tended slightly lower than a national sample in content focus, slightly higher in coherence, and considerably higher in active learning. This table displays results for teacher outcomes by grade level, including enhancements in teacher knowledge and skills and improvements in teachers' classroom practices. It also includes results from a nationally representative sample. As a faculty, Central Middle teachers reported relatively high levels of change in knowledge and skills, with an average of 3.7 on a 1 to 5 point scale, where 1, not at all, and 5, equal to great extent. There were, however, important differences across grade levels. The 7th grade teachers reported the highest levels of change with an average of 4.4, while 6th grade teachers had an average score of 3.9. These scores represent high levels of reported change independently, but are also particularly high when compared to the national average of 3.19. The lowest score was that of the 8th grade teachers, with an average of 3.0. which was markedly different from the 7th and 6th grade scores and fell just below the national average reported here. In order to gain more qualitative data, 10 teachers were purposefully selected to be interviewed about PLC practices in their school. Interviewees were selected based on grade level, subject area taught, and teaching experience to assure a broad spectrum of the general population. The data was then broken down into more manageable categories: the nature of PLCs at Central Middle, the relationship between PLC activities and teacher improvement for the interviewed teachers, and PLC activities in the context of the organization. When observing the nature of PLCs, the 6th and 7th grade collaborative teams, which had 3 to 5 members per team, along with the 8th grade teams, which usually had 2 members per team, met regularly to discuss administrative issues, grading procedures, discipline, and parent information. 6th and 7th took that even further and extended their meetings into collaborating on curriculum and instructional issues. but they focused more on teaching practices, what they were going to teach, how they were going to teach it, what they were going to do, instead of exactly looking at student learning and how they were going to measure that and follow through on that. However, the 8th grade collaborative teams did little focusing past what we mentioned of the administrative issues, grading procedures, etc. So they did not focus as much on curriculum, instruction, or student learning at all. When the teachers were asked about the relationship between the PLC activities and their improvement, 6th and 7th grade teachers indicated that when they got together with the same grade, same subject collaborative teams, that it did in fact impact on their professional improvement and development, and that made a difference in what they were doing in their classrooms. 8th grade teachers interviewed both spoke positively about the activities, but they said any improvements in their professional growth did not necessarily come from these activities, but came from outside factors other than the PLC organization that they were working within. So while the teachers discussed the PLC activities in the context of the school, they were extremely positive about those activities and what it had brought to them professionally, but they did not say or feel as though that was the only reason that they were seeing improvements in their school. So there was a lot that went into the improvements, and that was part of it, but it also came from outside factors or organizational factors, such as the combination of personalities at Central Middle, the principal, and how supportive and understanding and excited he was about this new opportunity. The fact that it was a new school and that the structure of the daily schedule that they had made helped them to incorporate collaboration and focus on student achievement. So it wasn't just the PLC activities that they felt held the weight of their improvement, but a lot of other things that went into it as well. Here you can look at the relationship between the professional learning community activities and the teacher improvement at Central Middle. You have 3 levels: facilitating collaboration, mediating conversation, and developing a community. So if you can look at the flow chart here, you have organizational structures such as teacher teams, common planning, flexible instructional time, that went hand in hand with the leadership practices of creating commitment, requiring collaboration amongst teachers, and supportive teacher team development. Moving into meeting details, active learning components, multi-member teams, meeting structure and expectations, and topics of conversation. So you weren't necessarily all on the same PLC, or you were on several PLCs and got the input from several different faculty members to go with it. Conversations and conflict went hand in hand. It was a constant going back and forth in what you were discussing and how you were going to handle it. Into the improvement in knowledge, skills, and teaching practices, which is exactly where you wanted to see your faculty and staff go. So there's the 3 levels that they explained their process within Central Middle School. So the conclusions of this study: at Central Middle, the PLC approach led to opportunities for teachers to learn from each other. This was kind of their way of doing professional development. They grabbed hold of the PLC concept, and that's what they focused on in their professional development. They did focus more on same grade, same subject collaboration as opposed to the traditional use of teaming in middle schools, where you had all the same team, but they all taught different subjects. But the results of this study suggest that other middle school leaders should consider this type of teaming as opposed to the more traditional route. So finally, the story of Central Middle suggests that even under the best of circumstances, the PLC model will not necessarily lead to exceptional teacher improvements. While professional learning communities will hopefully lead to more collaboration among professionals, this study did not find that it in any way assures improvement in student learning. This is just another avenue that they found to get teachers talking, collaborating, thinking, and supporting each other, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way to lead to student learning.